Hi everybody, it's Dr. Jensen. I thought I'd record some sessions to help you with lab number 2. So you'll notice I kind of have you do lab assignments on your own. Occasionally I will walk through lab assignments with you so we can do them together. That way we can alleviate some frustration, give you more practice and coaching on how to do things, and start to build your skills. So this one we're going to do more together, so that way it'll be a little easier for you. So I'm already in SPSS, so if you're not here, then pause the video and go to apps.ufl.edu, open up the SPSS program, and then resume the video. You can pause now. Okay, so again, once we're in SPSS, you launch that Citrix receiver, which is just a plugin to help the application run more smoothly. If you go to Open Data, usually you're brought up here, okay? So we're going to navigate all the way down to the R drive. So there's the R drive. Go into Courses. There's your course, CCJ 3701, and then Data. And you'll notice there's a second data set in there that says GSS Small Text Exercise 2. So go ahead and open that file, and you'll see a little file opens up. I'm going to bring it up here in the screen so you can see it better. You also get an output window that says get this file. That's just basically a recording of you opening a file. That's it. Okay, so this is the GSS, or a little subset of it anyway, the General Social Survey. You will also need the codebook file, so make sure you watch the codebook video as well so you can learn some things about which each of the variables mean. Now notice in this file, this is kind of an incomplete file. I'm just expanding that label column. This is very typical in data analysis. Sometimes people just dump a bunch of pieces of data in a spreadsheet. They send them off to you, ask you to analyze it. Hardly anything is labeled. Notice there's nothing in the label column for what the variable is about. There's nothing in the values column. There's nothing in the missing column. Okay, so it's kind of a blank data set. But if you go down here to the Data View tab, you'll notice we actually do have data. Okay, so let's start answering some questions on your worksheet. So number 1, you're asked how many observations you have, or rows of data. Easy way to do that is simply scroll down to the bottom of the spreadsheet to the very last instance of data, which is here. So that answers that question. You have 1,473 observations. There are a few other ways to get that answer. You could go to the Analyze menu, Descriptive Statistics, then Frequencies, and you can always choose a variable like ID that will provide that answer to you, because everybody in this data set has an ID number, so that would tell you how many people you have in there. So if you move that ID variable into the queue and click OK, it will actually produce a frequency of every single ID number in this data set. It's going to be a really long frequency, la la la, all the way down here at the bottom, 1,473 total. So that's another way you could find that, because maybe you have a huge data set and you don't want to scroll all the way down. You could just run that frequency. Let's see, and then another question you may have is how many variables are there? Well, since we're in the data view, look here in the corner. It says visible 36 of 36 variables. So that answers that question. You could also go to the variable view, clicking that tab at the bottom left, and just scroll down to the last instance of the variables, and you can see they end on row 36. So that's another way to find out that. So these are just basic things that we do to get to know a data set. How many rows of data do I have? How many variables do I have? If you go back into Add Health, you'll notice you have over 8,000 variables. So you start to learn these shortcuts really quick. But anyway, let's go back up in this variable view. We are interested in the HRS2 variable. Okay, so notice it's not labeled. You'll find the answer to what that means in your codebook video, so make sure you watch that video. But essentially, you remember it means hours worked in a week. Okay, so if we were to run a mean or an average of what everybody's average hours were, a couple ways we could do it. You can highlight the variable, right-click, and hit Descriptive Statistics. This is going to provide a small little box in your output, and there's the mean right there, negative 0.63. That's one way to do it. It also gives you the median, standard deviation, blah, 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 of the variable HRS2. Another way to do it would be to go to the Analyze menu, Descriptive Statistics, and you could ask for descriptives. It'll ask you for what variable. You select HRS2 from the list, pop it in the queue, and click OK. It would just provide the same kinds of information, a little bit different format. Okay, kind of does it horizontally. Gives you the minimum, the maximum, the mean, and so forth. You notice we don't have 1,473, we have 1,471. That must mean a few people didn't answer that question. Okay, so those are things to look for. There's one other way to get a frequency. You may use any and all of these ways as you continue in the class, so it's good to practice. Go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and Frequencies. Okay, notice the IDs in the queue. It always remembers the last thing we did, so go ahead and pop that back into the list, and we're going to go retrieve HRS2 and place that in the queue. And then before we click OK, we want to go over here to the Statistics option button, and we're going to ask for the mean. These are the measures of central tendency. See, it's in that box. You can get the mode and the mean. You can add a standard deviation or a min-max or a range or whatever you want. Click OK, and then click OK. So here we have the whole frequency of the variable. Okay, whoops, that's the old one. Let's make this output a little bit bigger for you. So here's HRS2. It looks like it goes from a bunch of negative numbers to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 10. Okay, so the total, there's 1,471, 2 that are shown as system missing. Okay, but right above the frequency is the famous little box, again, that shows the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, and so forth. So that is all provided to you. Now, the mean looks weird. If this is the average number of hours someone's working in a week, how could they possibly work negative hours? That doesn't make any sense. So it seems a little strange, which would be the answer to another question. If we go here, we can also see that the minimum value is negative 166. The maximum is 10. It looks like we got some negative numbers in there that can't possibly be right. And we can look at the frequency here and see, that we actually do have a range of negative numbers. So between negative 166 to negative 120, there's a chunk of people that put negative numbers in there. That's not going to work for this variable. We can only work in positive hours and minutes. I guess if they're sleeping at their desk, maybe they're getting time deducted, who knows. But then another thing that's kind of interesting is you notice there's a 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. If all of these people said, I worked 0 hours in a week, why are there 4 instances of the 0 answer? So 560 people gave this 0, 2 people gave that 0. That's another thing that's kind of a tip-off to us that there are some errors in this data. So we're going to learn how to correct them. Very simple thing we can do is we can go back into our data set and go to our variable. Here at the top, it's row number 5. If we go into the missing column, click on the very outer edge of the missing column and you'll find a blue box. This is where we can define a range of low to high. Okay, so here we can type in negative 166 and I think it went to negative 120 and click OK. So now we can define what those values are that are negative and everything in between and say, hey, SPSS, set that to missing. So now we should have a little bit better frequency for this variable so it doesn't get included in that mean. Let's run a frequency again. So we'll go to Descriptive Statistics, Frequencies. The HRS2 value is still in there, so we can go ahead and click OK. And it looks like it's cleaned up better. So here's our mean. Our mean is now 2.45. Okay, the median is 3. The mode is 0. That's another red flag. What's going on with the data? So again, as we scroll down, it looks like it removed the negative values because they're no longer at the top of the frequency anymore. You see they've actually been stacked here at the bottom. So all these negative numbers and everything in between now say missing. Okay, and now you have a total right here that says 1439 instead of the 1473. So these values are just set aside. We know they're not real, they're corrupted, so we're going to exclude them and make them missing. So that way they don't get calculated into our mean. But we still have this problem of these numbers. So we're going to talk about how to do a recode and actually force these numbers into the values they truly are. That will be in our next video because that's going to give us a much more accurate mean. All right, so we'll see you then.